This is the Dull Man's Podcast, the podcast for dull men
and women
who get excited about dull things.
Welcome to the Dull Man's Podcast. We are recording in a different venue today, so apologies if the sound sounds different, or if it looks different, or if my co-presenters look different, because I tried to change them. But
we just kept turning up.
Well, yeah, exactly.
My name's Dave Harries. I'm the producer and presenter of the show, and on my immediate right I have
Sarah Steele.
And further along the sofa,
I am not Sarah Steele. I am Demitris Deech, and I am in the top 1,000 stand-up comedians in the world.
and is that an official position?
It's official-ish.
Right. Okay.
I want to see the league table, and I want to know who is number one.
Number one. Well, I might be number one. I just said I'm in the top 1,000.
Yeah.
I might be number one as well.
Is it income or is it generating laughs?
Also,
there is no income. In
Also, I
stand-up
think we need to know how many stand-up comedians there are in the world. Because
There are 1,000. I'm a bit concerned.
if there's millions and millions, then being in the top 1,000 is an achievement. But if there's only 1,000,
There are definitely more than 1,000 stand-up comedians in the world.
and you're definitely in that top 1,000,
I definitely consider myself to be in the top 1,000 stand-up comedians in the world.
Sarah, let's change the subject. Well, we haven't seen you for a while. It's lovely
No.
to have you back.
Yeah,
on the
welcome
podcast.
back, Sarah.
Thank you.
Where
Nice to
have
be
you
back.
been? What have you been doing?
Yeah.
I've been doing that thing.
She's on the witness protection scheme.
Yeah,
We've outed her, yeah.
couldn't find
I
you
thought
anywhere.
I'd escaped. Police protection wasn't working. I've been busy doing that thing called work, which is... fortunately, I love my work. I write books, as you know. So I've been busy researching and getting words down. And
Where does your research take you then?
well, interestingly, last week I spent a day at the Houses of Parliament researching.
Ooh,
I know. I'm writing a
Okay.
book that's got a character who is an MP.
right.
So I trailed an MP for the entire day.
Now they've got a restraining order on you.
was gonna say-
Were they aware of this?
They were by about 4 o'clock.
Who's this dull woman following me? Oh, okay. So it was like by invitation. You went there with an MP.
Well, by being pushy,
yeah.
I'm
Well,
saying-
yeah. I guess you have to be.
Yeah, I mean, the research is the thing I almost love most about my work. So the book, I had a book out last week, which is about an art forgery and art theft and stuff. And I managed to get an interview with 2 coppers on the Art and Antique Squad with the Met Police. So I get to meet some really interesting people by being pushy. So yeah, last week, Houses of Parliament, it was brilliant. Had a really, really good day.
Let's briefly talk about what we got coming up in the show. I'm going to be talking about the Middle Isle of Lidl, which is very exciting. Deech, what are you telling us about?
I'm talking about vending machines.
And Sarah, do you have a peeve today?
Oh, I've always got a peeve. My problem is finding out which peeve is peeving me most. I saw an interview with Hugh Grant about all the things that he can't bear, and it was mainly people, and I'm beginning to feel a bit like Hugh Grant. But this week, it's people who can't park properly, and I will go into detail.
Oh, look forward to that.
Yeah.
So it is feedback time, and I know you love to hear from our listeners, Deech, and I'm sure you do too, Sarah. So
Indeed.
We're going to hear from, I think this chap is called Brian. So here he is.
Hello, this is a comment from a fan, or I suppose in the context of a dull podcast, you'd say a comment from someone who listens without being particularly offended and doesn't bother to switch you off.
Thanks, Brian.
And I have a comment which is that we don't revel sufficiently in the wonderfulness of the word dull, which of course is being used in a metaphorical sense, because dull literally means not sharp for a knife or not
Correct.
shiny for a piece of metal. But here we're using it in a much more picturesque and literary way to mean a person's character, which I think is interesting. And if you try and translate dull into other languages, it just doesn't work the same way. If you stick it into Google Translate, in French you get ennui, which is the kind of depression and self-loathing that 1890s French poets suffered from, and it's effectively a form of depression.
Ennui.
And if you type it into German, you get langweilig, which really means something that lasts a long time, possibly too long, but it doesn't have the same glory as the English word dull. dull. And if you put it in and translate it into Welsh, you get diflas, which is also, I think, sometimes used to mean miserable. But it's not dull. It just literally means boring. And boring isn't the same as dull. Those are two quite separate concepts. So we should love the word dull in English. It's very, very special.
So, Sarah, I've got to ask, the Brian was claiming, the literary sort of pretensions of the word dull. As a writer, I mean, were you inspired by Brian there?
I feel it's a word I'm going to have to get into whatever I write this afternoon now, because I hadn't appreciated it as a picturesque word. Oh, I love that description.
Yeah, and as he says, it's interesting the translations into other languages as well. I thought
Langweilig.
Something that lasts too long. I mean, that could be our podcast all over.
It's exactly it. That should be the strap line.
Yeah.
Lasts too long.
But anyway, that was very good of
Yeah,
Brian.
thank you, Brian.
We appreciate your efforts.
Good on
I
you,
love
sir.
that you have a listener called Brian. It feels wholly appropriate.
I just love that we have a listener.
So, Deech, you are going to talk to us today about vending
machines.
And I suppose a vending machine is, by definition, quite a dull thing, although it can be quite a useful thing as well. So, So what's brought on this?
This is up to you guys to make this topic sexy. By the way, I bring the topic. You guys can make it as fascinating as funny
Jazz
as
it up.
Yeah, you guys can jazz it up. Let's start off with a question.
But hang on, you're in the top 1,000 stand-up comedians. Surely you can do that without us.
Yeah, exclusively not talking about vending machines.
Oh, I see.
We're not even in the top 2,000, are we?
No, exactly.
Let me kick things off with a question. When do you think the first vending machine existed in this country?
Oh, that's
What would it be vending? Would it be
Maybe it'd be-
stamps or?
I can see a sort of caveman version where you sort of get rocks. Need new rock. Put rock in machine and rock comes out.
Yeah, I'm struggling with the concept of there being a machine in the cave.
You asked a question, Sarah, and let's say, and this is the first sort of proper vending machine which gave different choice of items. Okay, so the first fully automated vending machine, and it gave postcards, envelopes, and notepaper.
Nice, a stationary vending machine. I would be so up for that.
Yeah.
I'd be there every day.
Yeah. When do you think that was?
Postcards, no. Oh, I'm going for 1860.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's got to be Victorian era. This is it screams Victorian.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say late Victorian.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So I'm going to say 1895.
Oh, 1883.
Oh,
Wow.
1883. Generally found at railway stations and some post offices. But we can go a little bit earlier than that. Also, Simon Denham was awarded British patent number 706 just a couple of decades earlier for the first fully automated vending machine, but it only sold or dispensed one thing, and that was stamps.
I remember those stamp machines. I mean, not from the 1860s.
I think they were
I'm
very
not
similar.
Quite that old.
God, your research takes you back in time. That's phenomenal.
Or I'm just very old.
it's very handy as a novelist if you have a time machine.
Yeah.
It can
Oh,
save
it would
sorts
save me so much time.
So if you could go back in time and steal anyone's book idea, which book would you steal to be your own?
Oh, my word.
Maybe she wouldn't steal any. Maybe she's too honest each.
I am quite honest. I'm quite
I think
honest.
I know Sarah well enough to know that she might pinch an idea.
Just one or two. I am the person making notes under the table at a dinner party. Maybe I'd nick a Jane Austen idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's her 200th anniversary next year.
That sounds about right. Then you'd have to
was
do
it
away with
250th?
Jane Austen.
Can
Maybe.
I,
Oh,
But
no.
can I
I've got
just
time to
say
buy
that?
all her books, so that would be...
Well, that's okay. We'd still have Jane Austen. It's just she'd be called Sarah Steele, and that's
Oh, okay.
as long as they.
Am I actually taking over her body and mind.
Well,
we hadn't thought this through.
You haven't, no.
You've already lasted longer than her, so look on the bright side.
Anyway,
and can I just say that Sarah might, now you've raised this thing of a time machine. Sarah might be from the future. She might be here to steal our ideas.
Wow! Yeah. In the future, there's going to be this podcast.
yeah. Let's hope it's successful. If you can tell us. But if you are from the future.
Yeah.
That would explain a lot,
About me?
About you. Yeah.
Like what?
Well, your sort of general weirdness. And
thanks, Dave.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Your sort of, your witty repartee, because you know what's going on. You know what's going to happen.
Can you
Sarah,
only be
who's
witty
going to win
if
the
you're...
Ashes next year?
The Ashes? Oh, England, of course.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Put your house on it.
as if Sarah would have followed the cricket from the future.
I probably would, actually, because I'm a bit of a cricket fan.
Oh, are you?
I was brought up with cricketing brothers, so there was no choice in my house but to watch cricket. And for 5 days, every test match, Mum would just shut the curtains in the sitting room and no one was allowed in, and she was just...
Oh, she was into it as well?
Oh, my word.
It was a full family thing?
It was a full family thing, yeah.
You see, I was quite impressed that I actually knew the Ashes was a cricket cup, because that's about the limit of my knowledge.
Yeah, it's an urn.
It's a knockout tournament.
Do you know what it contains?
Yeah, it's the burnt stumps or something.
Of the first series that
I know.
England lost.
No,
to
I may
Australia.
not understand cricket, but I know the Ashes are burnt something or others.
Yeah.
Listen, let's get back on track, and we're talking about books and literature and authors and that. We can even
talking about vending machines.
Yeah, well, we are talking about vending machines, but an even earlier vending machine, so we can go back even decades now to 1822. So an English bookseller, Richard Carlyle, devised a newspaper dispensing machine for the dissemination of banned works, and that was in 1822. And he was an activist, and he was a suffrage. So he was sort of campaigning for votes for all men, and some of his works were getting banned, and so he basically created a vending machine so people could access his literature and newspaper and articles. We can go back even further than that. So in 1615, there was a coin-operated machines that dispensed tobacco.
Did you still have to kick them to get your tobacco out?
Almost certainly, yeah. Yeah. And then you can go back even further than that. The earliest known reference to a vending machine is in the work of Hero of Alexandria. He was a Greek mathematician in what is now Egypt, in the Roman Empire, and he invented a vending machine where you'd put a coin in a slot and it would dispense wine. Or holy water.
That. I know what I'd be going for.
Exactly.
Who's going to go for the holy water when you've got wine?
A coin would land in a pan. That would weigh the pan down. That would lift a lever. That would open a valve, and a set amount of wine would pour out. The coin would then fall off the pan, and it would snap back and close off the.
It's brilliant, isn't it? To invent something like that. That's true, completely mechanical. No, obviously no electricity available then, and and presumably that we now must have arrived at the first vending machine, have we? Or are you going to say, but then,
no,
100 years earlier...
That's the first reference to something which resembles a vending machine. And I would say that resembles a vending machine.
I don't think it resembles one. I think it is one.
Yeah.
I think Deech has done his homework this week.
Yeah, I always do my homework. And he
really done your homework.
So Hero of Alexandria invented loads of other things as well. He was like a prolific inventor at the time. He invented mechanical items for the theatre, a lot of theatres, where they made like rumbles of like thunder. He would do all of that, and winches to pull ropes. He invented, I don't know if you've heard of a Heron's fountain, which is a fountain which sort of sprays water and basically effectively runs by itself. It doesn't need electricity. So he invented that. He invented items which have sort of since become things, like the syringe could be credited back to him to a certain extent. The thermometer, which is, a vapor going through, a tube, goes back to him. Automated doors.
Automated doors?
Yeah.
So he was way ahead of the game, wasn't he? I mean, Star Trek, I thought they invented it,
Well, so this was...
That's the future.
Oh, sorry, that's where you're from.
Yeah. Come on.
So this was in churches and temples. So the fire on the altar would heat up a sealed vacuum of air. That air would then rise, displace water, which would then pour into like a tube, and that would open doors.
So you had to
big
wait.
heavy
You had to wait a while. Then.
Did they not have handles? I mean, that would have been much simpler.
They don't. So this was all shown in his book. It was called Mechanics.
Oh right. So do we know if it was actually built?
It's not known if it was built, but the designs are there. But it is believed that a lot of these did exist because the fountain existed. So
yeah, I suppose he might have built a prototype.
Yeah.
But you can see why that one wouldn't catch on, because it would take you about half an hour to get into the building.
Yeah. You're knocking on the door. Can I come in?
Yeah, sorry, we're just heating up. Yeah. Won't be long.
Yeah. You're on the toilet again, Dave. No, just waiting for the door to open.
I wish they hadn't got rid of their handle.
Yeah. Let's go through some typical vending machines. Usually coffee. Tickets is a common one, isn't it? Buy tickets. Snacks. Do you remember in the swimming pool when you used to go swimming? I used to love them. It was vending machines. That was my first experience of a vending machine where you could get crisps. And
packet of Quavers.
Polo meat.
Toffee crisps.
And after you've been swimming, you're always starving.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was always ravenous when I came out of a swimming pool.
And then you'd see that you'd choose which one you want, and you'd see the items slowly coming towards you.
Yeah.
And then it drops at the bottom, and then you've got to go in. Then you'd break your wrist.
Yeah, that's right.
Down.
It's like a man trap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Put your arm in.
Bear trap.
Yeah, that's right.
Man trap.
Yeah, you can have man traps.
I suppose you can. But, yeah.
And it is a more appropriate term, given that the bears do not use vending machines, as far as we know.
I was going to say, do we actually know that?
So, Sarah, you are fed up with parking things this week.
Parking things, yes. This seems like a really petty gripe, but I mentioned it to a couple of people this week, and they said, what are you going to talk about on the Dalmain's podcast? And they all went, oh my God, I hate that. That is the most irritating thing in the world. So I live in a road where there is parking on one side of the road, opposite my house. And there are probably about 6 of us who have cars, and there are about 6 spaces. And there's the woman who has the smallest car, this like kind of roller skate, always parks it across 2 of the spaces. So I then can't get into my road to park, have to park miles away, and the stupid little car is just sitting with... She could get 3 roller skates.
So there are marked spaces outside your house?
No, but it's common sense.
You can tell. You know when you're taking up 2 spaces.
Exactly. And you know, you live there, so you know there are other people with cars.
Do you know the woman? Can you speak with her?
Well,
can you graffiti on her car?
I did actually have a word with her
She
once.
wasn't the one who had scaffolding outside her house in an earlier episode.
No, she wasn't. No, that's
tell us about... So you confronted her?
I confronted her. So she was just about to park in a very shit manner, and I was about to pull into the space that would have been next to her, but she blocked it off with her roller skate. And I just got out the car. I said, look, I'm really sorry. Do you mind just moving the car down a bit? Because, I can't get mine in now. If you just go down a few feet, we can get both of them in. She looked at me like I just asked her to saw her leg off.
What is wrong with
And
these
she
people?
huffed and she puffed and she got in that car. And instead of just rolling it back, it's on a hill, instead of just rolling it back 6 feet, not even 6 feet, 4 feet would have done it.
Yeah.
She went backwards and forwards and she was crunching the gears and going up the pavement.
Making a
I
point.
thought maybe you're just really bad at parking and you just get so stressed out you have to leave a massive space
Well, some people
around
do get
you.
very stressed about parking, and they get particularly stressed when they know they're being watched as well.
Yeah.
So that you could be right. That could be the explanation.
Yeah, but also people are just selfish. People don't think.
Yeah.
I was trying to park in town yesterday because I had to drop something off in a massive hurry, and I missed 3 spaces because people had parked across 2. And there are probably about a dozen free parking spaces in town where you can just park for 20 minutes, and 3 of those had gone because people parked across them.
When I drop my daughter off at school, there's like a row of spaces where you could get, let's say, 7 cars. Quite easily get 7 cars. But all it takes is 1 or 2 cars to be parked, like you say. And you think there's enough space in between those cars that if you park properly, you get that. But they just take up. And I have that. So if the person is in their car, if the school mum is still in her car, I'll say, excuse me, and I ask exactly, say, if you move down, I'll be able to get my car in. They look at you as if to say, well,
what's your problem?
What I don't understand. Yeah, there's often no verbal communication. It's like a roll of the eyes.
Yeah.
then they get back in their cars.
Yeah.
Then I make a point of staring at them and staring at their parking.
Does
and
that
trying
work?
to advise how to park their... No, I don't do that. But yeah,
You print out a set of instructions and
Yeah.
put it on their windscreen.
yeah, I like to say, would you like me to do it for you, love? I think is always a nice...
I
Yeah,
think
that
most
wa-
women like being called love. I
Yeah.
have to say, and that you've hit another pet hate now, which I maybe should say for another week. But it is men telling me how to park. I'm actually really good at parking. I always park. I reverse park in
these
SAS
men you
style.
know? SAS style. Nice.
Yeah, no.
James Bond.
Right.
No,
Handbrake
I've got
turn
a
into
friend
the-
at GCHQ, and I was giving him a lift somewhere, and I reversed the car into the supermarket car park. He went, "Nice parking, Steele, SAS style." Yeah, so yeah, it's what they do. So they quick getaway.
You have got a super spy secret agent name.
I have. How do you know I'm not? Anyway, so you get some old bloke, it's always an old bloke, just going, no, a bit this way, don't, oh, hard left, hard right. No, I'm fine. It's really annoying.
Yeah, you want to wind down the window and tell them where to go.
I just want to run them over, actually. And I think I'd be
Then
quite
do
in my
your
right.
hard
Yeah.
left.
I
Oh,
would
sorry,
suggest-
I'm only a woman. I didn't know how to drive, so I accidentally ran him over. Parking, it's just, it just drives me nuts. It's one of those stupid things, but it can, when you're in a hurry, or it just ruins your day. Really.
Does it
agree.
ruin your day, though, really? I
No,
meif
it
or
does-
do you just
oh,
make
it
it
does.
right,
wait
I'm
If
exaggerating.
I see
5 minutes.
someone who's parked incorrectly, that really annoys me. And I think the highway code should be changed. That if you see someone get out of their car and they've taken up 2 spaces, you should be allowed to run them over.
I think you should.
So they should
Only
just-
fair.
Yeah.
That seems like a very, very moderate thing to ask
Yeah.
for. I'm sure they'll
you
do
run them,
that.
and you're allowed to reverse back over them.
Yeah, several times.
Yeah.
Till you actually know they're dead.
Yeah.
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 Well, this,
Yeah.
this podcast has taken a rather maudlin turn, but, there we are.
We're going to run
So-
the country.
Yeah.
High five,
Over.
Sarah. Boom. Dave, you are a shopper and you have a favourite part of a certain supermarket that I have heard rumours you wander down.
Well, that's
and loiter.
Very interesting. You should describe it as my favourite supermarket because I actually don't get to go there that often because we haven't got one particularly near. But I'm talking about the middle aisle of Aldi or Lidl, which because they are very similar in their approach to this. And the middle aisle, for anybody, the few people who don't know what that is this sort of area of the supermarket, of these particular supermarkets, where they sell, well, literally anything.
It's the Aladdin's cave.
It's the Aladdin's cave, and they're sort of special offers, and they're all, and you're certainly seduced into feeling that everything there is a bargain. They've created this sort of atmosphere around the middle aisle where everything there is a bargain. It's and of course this famous phrase, "When they're gone, they're gone." So in other
We all
words,
fall for it, don't we?
we do.
yes.
We do. It's absolutely brilliant.
I nearly bought a mini chopper yesterday.
A mini chopper. What's a mini chopper?
Is that
Just
from Ann
like-
Summers?
Yeah, no. From they haven't done sort of seduction week in the middle aisle. No, it's like a Kenwood chef, but just for like one onion or something.
Oh, right.
And I kidded
that
myself.
sounds
I
as if
need
it would
it,
be
but I
useful.
don't need it.
That sounds as if it would be useful.
I
It's
know,
when you
but
go
would
into
it?
Lidl.
So I've got a waffle maker I bought because I thought, I haven't got a waffle maker. Got to have a waffle
And
maker.
now you've got one. And
No, I've got one. How often do I use
once
it?
every 2 years. Yeah.
Oh, if that.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. But I decided to try and find out a little bit more about the middle aisle thing because it is such a big thing now, and everybody knows about it. Anybody who's ever been anywhere near one of those supermarkets knows about it. And I actually took the trouble to walk up and down the middle aisle one day when I happened to be there a couple of weeks ago, and I filmed it surreptitiously with my phone so that later on I could list all the things I saw.
Yes.
Because I didn't want to stand there with a notebook making a list because I thought that would look weird as opposed to filming it,
Which doesn't look at all weird.
Doesn't look at all weird, exactly. So anyway, can I just quickly read you this list of
Yes.
these things? And this isn't exhaustive because I didn't get everything on camera and
Wow.
some of it was a bit blurred. So Christmas Christmas flowers, soft toys, energy fat balls for birds, ladies' ski jacket, boxed, assorted snow boots, large cuddly toy looking like a mutant Teletubby.
I'm just going to go and get that coffee.
Soft
in a minute.
toy Santa in a tartan bobble hat. So obviously there's a bit of a Christmas theme there.
Yeah.
Gentlemen's shirts, 100-piece socket set, assorted box spanners, fleece overshirt, cast iron casserole dishes, orange or blue, cast iron griddle pan, orange or blue, round wooden chopping board, salt and pepper mill sets, large tub of sweets, large packet of kitchen roll, rubber toy for dogs, rubberized ice cube trays, assorted shapes. I think they were ice cube trays. They could have been jelly
Rubber
mugs,
toy
I'm
for
not
Sarah.
sure.
Yeah.
Novelty mugs, Christmas dog biscuits, pet care. I mean, it goes on. That's about half my list.
This is the thing, isn't it? You go in for a pint of milk, you come out with a diesel generator and a wetsuit.
You do.
Exactly. And you know, I sort of looked into this a little bit, and I wanted to know what the best sellers were. You know, what are the things that really do well?
Yes.
And
Did you just watch to see how many people
no.
picked up certain items?
No, I googled it. It would have taken a long time if I'd done it myself. But apparently, thermal underwear were a massive hit last Christmas. They sold hundreds of thousands of pairs of thermal underwear.
Well, it was bloody freezing, wasn't it?
In a couple of days. Yeah, well, maybe
What
that's
size,
it.
Dave?
I don't know. I didn't ask that. Thermal hoodies, very big seller, and air fryers.
Yes.
That was the
we
thing
got-
to have last year.
We
Yeah.
bought an air fryer last Christmas.
Yeah,
I was too. It only
Ours was
lasted
from John
3
Lewis,
months.
though.
It broke. Oh, was it?
But anyway, they so there are certain items which definitely do better. But they have a whole team of people. These supermarkets have massive team of people who do nothing but source stuff for the middle aisle.
I would love that job.
It's a good job, isn't
What
it?
a great job.
So they kind of have to kind of identify the trends.
Yeah,
And say, air fryers are going well this month.
Yeah.
Let's chuck a couple of them in.
The
And then,
psychology
course,
of supermarkets is huge,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah.
exactly. Well, and I think the middle aisle has taken it to a new level.
Yeah.
And apparently it's more men than women. Men get obsessed with the middle aisle.
Oh,
Well, it's kit, isn't it?
You mentioned. I'm still thinking about the 100-piece socket set you mentioned,
exactly,
Dave.
exactly. Because that is one of the most attractive things you can see
Yeah.
as a man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
A
I'm
90-piece
sorry, but 100-piece...
A socket set in triple figures.
I know.
Brilliant.
And
I was in there the other day and I spotted they got a really strange kind of butchery theme going on. So there was, there was like a meat slicing machine and a mincing machine and an electric carving knife. I've not seen one of those since the 70s.
1980s, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there wasn't a hostess trolley as well, was there?
Yeah.
Maybe there was.
Do you remember those heated
Yeah.
trolleys?
Oh, my mum had one.
Oh, they were
Well, you'd put
fantastic.
your
Yeah.
stew in, it would keep it warm.
Yeah. And you'd wheel it
But you
through-
could
And that
have
was
a compartment for your veg and for your...
and you'd
and that
wheel
was-
it into the dining room during the dinner party.
and impress your guests.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I was interested to know what some of the more strange items that also, and for example, you could buy an inflatable hot tub on the middle aisle
How much
of
was- do
one
you
of these
remember how much
supermarkets.
that
No, I didn't see this. I looked. I
You
found
keen?
this. I saw this online.
Yeah.
But I thought that must be fairly
Next
unusual.
podcast.
But apparently that was a big seller.
Inflatable hot tub.
And Lord of the
Wave
Rings
bikini.
towels apparently were big sellers.
What towels?
Lord of the Rings towels
To clean your ring.
Deech, you really did have to pull the subject right down, didn't you?
Can't help it.
no, you
It's
can't.
like it's bubbling up.
It's for that reason that I'm in the top 1,000 stand-up comedians.
There's a
It's true.
13-year-old
Not the top
boy
10.
in there, not trying very hard to keep it down.
No. And the other one is, and Deech, please don't say anything rude about this, the Badger knitting kit.
Got one. Next. Move on.
And finally, did you know...
Is it for badgers to knit? Or is
Good
it
question.
to knit a badger?
I suspect it's to knit a badger.
How do you know badgers
Or to
don't
de-knit
knit?
a badger.
Well, I don't know that for a fact, but
Have you ever seen a badger not knitting or knitting?
I've often seen badgers not knitting. Yes, that's something I have seen, but I've never seen them actually knitting. But here's a little quiz for you then. So when did Aldi were first? When did Aldi arrive in the UK? And here's a clue: Lidl were 4 years later.
That's not much of a clue.
Much of a clue, but-
Shit clue.
Okay, I'm going to... So the first Aldi.
Don't be so rude.
I'm going
It was a
to...
good
Oh, clue is it was in Milton Keynes. Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you lived in Milton Keynes, that would be a clue.
2001.
Okay, and Sarah, would you like to guess?
I'm going 2008.
Yeah, I would have guessed something similar to both those. I was very surprised to see that it was actually 1990.
Okay.
So it was quite a lot. So it was 11.
That's a whole decade. I could have been
decade
shopping
before.
there and I didn't even know.
Yeah,
I
and
had the
Lidl was
opportunity.
94. And I mean, I was quite surprised that they'd been around that long. I suppose they took a while to get established, but they're ubiquitous now. I mean, there are thousands of them, aren't there? And,
Yeah.
Mini ones in London.
Yeah.
Are there?
Yeah.
And do they have a mini middle aisle? Which
Yeah, with little tiny.
yeah, a tiny electric screwdriver.
Everything small.
tiny
you knit a
bunch of
badger.
knitting sets.
You knit a beaver.
And you can go online now and to the supermarket website, and they will tell you what is going to be in the middle aisle. You know, and they'll say from midday Friday.
God, that's
Ooh,
creating
they've got
an
people
excitement.
chomping at the bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Make a
exactly
buzz.
what happens. So when a particularly good thing comes up, or things
Yeah.
that people want, they get queues. They get stampedes for people to try and get, because when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah,
I was a bit like that with bark
You're gonna
chippings
be-
last summer, actually.
Were
I
you?
heard they were coming in and I needed some for my garden
In the middle aisle.
in the middle aisle.
Wow.
You're going to have people like coiled springs waiting for the 8th of January so they can go and buy their donut maker.
Well,
They're
have
electric
you-
heated socks.
So have you heard of Aldi's Kevin the Carrot? Because Aldi's Kevin the Carrot, I hadn't heard of it either, but it's a cuddly toy, a limited edition soft toy. It's about 8 inches, a foot tall, and it resembles a carrot, I suppose. And
Makes sense.
And it comes out every Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Aldi produces every Christmas, so in
It comes
December.
out, I'm gay.
Yeah. Well, it maybe. But anyway.
You did that last year.
Anyway, it comes out and it has a different sexuality each year. And the Aldi has queues outside waiting for it because it's a limited edition. People want it. It's in massive demand. So every Christmas, on the
Someone's
day it
taking the
comes out,
piss, aren't they?
and they sell out in a couple of hours. And apparently, some stores they have to call the police to control the crowd.
They get the feds in.
who just want to get hold
get the
of
5-0
Kevin
in.
the Carrot.
Got the riot squad
I mean,
in.
why would
Armed
you-
police.
But there are
Put
people
the
that-
carrot down. There's a taser pointed at you.
How do you create that demand for something as utterly
Pointless.
useless and pointless? Yeah, but there we go.
It's a
they've done
clever
it.
joke, I
Yeah,
reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we are.
You got one?
Kevin the Carrot.
Yeah.
I've got a room full of them.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to another edition of the Dolmens podcast. It's been my absolute pleasure to be working with Demitris Deech and Sarah Steele. Thank you guys for joining us here today. And I'm Dave Harries, and we'll see you all next time. Don't forget to subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts. I thought you'd have learnt your lesson about singing, Deech, after you and Faye.
I am.
We put it all over social media as well, and got virtually no response. It was great.